Should we have some high hopes heading into this season? The Philadelphia Phillies, those youngsters, playing some baseball. Let's see. Hopefully. We'll see what happens this year. Tony Del Grosso, Kyle Gaffner are both here. I'm Adrian Fenke. We've got a 2017 Phillies preview here set on tap. We're going to talk about pitching in this show. Right after this show, we're going to go into the hitters and the offense. So we'll get into that. So let's bring the fellows on. Tony, Kyle, how you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How you doing?
Doing all right. Doing all right. I got my 2008 World Series ad. I haven't busted this out in a while. I literally have. Look at this. Look at all these little. Look at all the dust.
Little dust bunnies.
There has been so much dust on this hat. I want to clear the dust off, guys. Come on, guys. Let's. I want another one of these hats. I want another one soon.
Right? It's been missing in this town for a while. I think the Phillies want to blow the dust off of all their stuff, too, because it's been a long time since they've been relevant, Adrian.
Tony, how's it going, man?
It's gonna be a few more years at least till you could wipe that dust off. So, that's all I'm gonna say to that.
All right, let's get into this pitching staff. This young pitching staff. So last year, you had a pitcher that was 27 or younger, starting 124 of the 162 games. Youngest rotation since 1950. The Whiz Kids, 4.41 ERA. That was basically a run lower than 2015. So they might be young, but it's a pretty solid staff. This is the strength of the team. You think of that trio. You think of Vincent Velasquez. You think of Jared Eichhoff. You think of Aaron Nola. Do you guys like this rotation?
Tony?
Like it for this year? Yeah. Like it for 3-4 years from now? I mean, the ceiling of it is not top 10 in baseball. It is mediocre now for the purposes of this year. It's fine. You'll get a look at a bunch of guys, and in reality, that should be the goal of this year. For the progress of the guys like Velasquez, Nola, Eichhoff, and chance to see some other guys.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you there, Tony. I think it's just a little bit of a patchwork here. You got a couple vets in there. You're just kind of waiting to fill those holes until the young guys get up, like a Thompson, Lively, and an Eflin, because we have a youthful pen of young guys down there with some arms, and even Appel if he ever turns into anything. So it's okay for this year, but going forward, I want to see these young cats kind of like fill their role and become leaders and become 1, 2, and 3 starters. The back of the rotation.
Yeah. All right. The trio right now, the three guys that we like to discuss: Velasquez, Eichhoff, Nola. Out of those three, who do you think has the best year this year? And out of those three, 2-part question. So, who has the best year this year, and who is the guy that's going to have the best career out of those three?
Ooh.
Answer one. Okay. We'll get back to the second question on the next go round. So, who's going to have the best year this year? We'll start with that.
I think Eichhoff is going to have the best year this year. Eichhoff is basically the safest pick in that he's been consistent really since day one. I mean, the guy has had very few peaks and valleys, so to speak. You pretty much know what you're getting out of him each time. With that said, the ceiling isn't as high, I don't think, as the other two guys, but the floor definitely isn't as low. So I would go with Eichhoff to have the best year.
That was going to be my pick, too. He's been the most consistent, and he's actually might turn out to be the best pitcher out of that trade with Cole Hamels, too. I mean, the kid has brought it. He was kind of just a throw-in that trade, I think, and he really has turned it into Mr. Consistency right there. But the other two do have more of a hype about them, like a Vincent Velasquez. This guy has the power arm. He has the stuff, but can he keep it consistent? And I'm really banking on Eichhoff to have a good year because he looked really good down in spring training. He's adding a new pitch to his arsenal. So if he can get a lot of those breaking balls to go along with his fastball, I mean, this kid is going to have a really great career.
Yeah, I love that curveball. His big shoulders, big, strong guy. And you guys want to talk about the consistency, right? 20 quality starts in 2016 out of the 33 starts he had. He became the 4th Philly ever with 33 or more starts and an ERA of 3.65 or lower. So that joined Kurt Schilling, Cole Hamels, and Roy Halladay. So some pretty elite company for Jared Eichhoff. And he's my pick as well. I just think he's the most consistent. I think he's the best right now. I don't like what I'm seeing out of – well, I didn't like what I saw out of Nola last year at the end of the year with his he struggled with his location, and he's been getting hit around pretty hard in the spring. And Velasquez, I think he's more of a project who has a higher ceiling and more potential down the line. So Eichhoff for this year. But as for the ceiling, as for the potential, as for the guy who's going to be the best out of these three, say in 3 years from now, who is the guy that you would pick? That's tough because I don't know.
I'm gonna go Velasquez only because, in my opinion, he has slightly more upside than Nola. Nola is already more of a finished product, but Velasquez has a little better stuff. Will he ever command his pitches well enough to be that guy? I don't know, but he's still young enough where the potential is there. Nola, there's something off about him right now. He wasn't right at the end of last year. He hasn't looked himself in spring. His first few starts of this year, I think, are going to be pretty telling. And if he gets hit around in his first, 5 starts, let's say, I wouldn't be surprised if they shut him down because I think there might be something going on there. Eichhoff, I think Eichhoff is just going to improve on what he did last year. Again, so. Yeah,
my choice is going to be Velasquez too, just because the power arm that he can possess. I mean, you always want a pitcher that can throw like 96, 97. It's just something that you really is valued in the MLB now. And Nola, I don't know if there is something wrong. He didn't have surgery after this season. He kind of just worked through it. They let it heal on its own. And when I was down in spring training, this is what was weird. He looked good the first 2-3 innings, and then it just fell apart. So I don't know if it's a mental thing. I don't know if it's a physicality thing, if there is something really bothering to him. But if he does have a couple bad starts, I wouldn't be surprised if they kicked him down to AAA to kind of just get his mechanics going or what it is. But like you had said too, Velasquez, is he really going to reach that peak if he doesn't get his consistency of pitches getting down? Because he gets in his head too, I think. I think he just wants his arm talent to take over. And it just doesn't really happen. He's just inconsistent. He nibbles. He doesn't just own his pitches. And I feel like that could be a really big problem with this kid.
Yeah, I mean, there's some question marks with him. There's also some uncertainty as to what he is going to be because there is the potential that he could be a closer too. Now, you look at the power, 10.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. So that's really impressive. He blows fastballs by everybody. But the key for him is going to be adding that secondary pitch, and you got to keep working on it. Now, what's he? He's still only like 24 years old or whatever he is, so he's still got some years left to develop those pitches. But exited a lot last year due to high pitch counts, so he walks a lot of guys. So he's got to work on that. But he's got the stuff. He's got the power arm. He's got the potential. I think he is the guy. And now let's talk about Aaron Nola even further now, because it seems like we're all kind of concerned with him. And something that we talked about last show with Tony, and potentially maybe getting Tommy John surgery, because I don't know if I like that little delivery he has and the herky-jerkiness of it.
No, and that was a thing coming out of college with him. They weren't sure about his release coming out of it. Were they going to change it? But you don't really want to mess with a guy's mechanics. If it works with him, why change it? Why screw up his whole mechanics of his pitching? But is this leading to this injury of this uncomfortableness that is really telling? Because you drafted this guy to be at least one of your top 2 starters in the league. You expected him to blow through the minors real quick. I never really saw number 1 potential in him, but at least a 2, if not a 3 number starter in our rotation.
Yeah, like you said, the concerns about the elbow were there coming out of college. The delivery clearly put a lot of stress on his elbow. I think everybody I agree. His upside is a 2 or a 3. It's concerning, and like you said, I feel like to a lot of people out there, a lot of scouts, whatever, what he's going through right now, isn't exactly unexpected. Especially if it has to do with an injury.
Yeah, yeah. Now let's get into kind of how his game is, how he pitches, and all that. Because for him, in order for him to be effective, he needs that location. God, you can see all these dust particles. It's disgusting. But you can see like he keeps the ball low. When he's on, he keeps the ball low and he nips those corners with that two-seam fastball. And when he has it going, man, I love it. It's beautiful.
I mean, that's his game. It's command, keeping hitters off balance. He's got the 3 pitches. When he's on, it's fun to watch. He really hits the corners. He, like you said, he keeps the ball down. He's an awfully refined guy for how young he is. I mean, he's already there. Again, it's just durability, and that might be his career.
And which is crazy because you would think durability would go with a guy that has a power arm. He really doesn't throw that hard. Even though he has increased his velocity, he's more of an off-speed kind of pitcher. That nips corner command is what his thing. And if he's having problems throwing all these, off-speed pitches, what is he going to do when he starts to, increase his velocity as a little bit? Because he more or less a finished product coming out of LSU. And it kind of sucks because I've been excited to get this guy up in the majors and start to build our rotation. This was the guy a couple years ago when we took him 7th overall.
Yeah, and what's also concerning is if he can't stay healthy as a starting pitcher, he doesn't really have a fallback option, whereas Velasquez, if he can't control the ball, you could at least put him in the bullpen and he might be able to be an elite reliever. If Nola can't stay healthy for a full year, then Nola can't be in the big leagues. I mean, that's just the bottom line.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's talk about some other guys that, are going to get some starts as the year goes on. And let's get your guys' thoughts on maybe who is the best out of this bunch. Now, I'm assuming I know who the best out of this bunch is, so maybe we'll throw some other names out there. But, all right, so let's run them down. Zach Eflin, Jake Thompson, Alec Asher, Adam Morgan, Ben Lively. Which out of those guys is your favorite? Now, I'm assuming Jake Thompson, but so –
Well, we traded Alec Asher to get
that's right.
What's his face on the roster. So I kind of liked Alec Asher, but out of these guys, I'm a big fan of Jake Thompson.
Yeah. All right, pick another one because that's like the obvious.
I actually like Ben Lively a lot too. Guy we got from Marlon Byrd a couple years ago. I think he really has worked his way through the system. He was one of the top pitching prospects for the Reds a few years ago. He won a couple awards, and when he came over here, he really did his work. He was good at Reading, and he really impressed with AAA last year. I was kind of surprised he didn't get the call-up last year, and I'm surprised he really didn't make the roster again this year. He got batted around in spring training a little bit. His command was a little off, but I like his pitching technique. I like what he has to offer. He has a couple off-speed pitches I like, but he's got a nice power arm. Now, who do you like out of these guys?
Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on Lively. I think if Buchholz wasn't around, Lively might have made the starting 5. But we all know that Buchholz is just there to be traded, and I get that. I think Lively is, despite his age, is kind of the rawest of the bunch and does have the most potential. Thompson was, I think, for a while thought of to be that guy. Another guy they got back in the Cole Hamels deal. But when they brought him up briefly last year, he didn't look good, quite frankly. And I know it was very, very small sample size. But what was concerning to me was he didn't have the that power stuff that they had been talking about. So all these guys are young. All these guys are going to get a chance this year, definitely in the second half of the season. And we're going to see.
Well, I think the reason he didn't have that velocity like we're used to seeing is because this is the most innings he's pitched in his entire career. So I was wondering if that maybe had something to do with it. He wasn't stretched out as much, and this is as much he's ever pitched. So hopefully that's what it was.
Well, whenever he went up the levels, whenever he started out somewhere new, he always struggled. Then he got better as it kind of went along. So with Jake Thompson, I would just kind of preach patience a little bit and just. I would think this year he would be there a lot better.
I hope so, because he was the main focal point in that. Pitching prospects, he was the main guy in the Cole Hamels trade.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. What about the other guys? What do you guys think of like Zach Eflin?
Tony?
You go ahead, Q.
Okay. I like Zach Eflin. He was another guy that I thought was going to impress when he got called up to the majors, and he just kind of didn't. He struggled. Now his first start, he got lit up for I think eight runs against the Padres, or it wasn't a very good offensive.
Oh yeah, he got like slacked.
Oh
yeah.
God, it was bad, man. It was bad. It wasn't against an offensive juggernaut. I'm pretty sure it was the Padres, so it was like, all right, it was the majors. Maybe he had some jitters, but then the second game, the same thing happened, and it was just alarming because he was lights out with AAA. I expected his stuff to really come up and translate, and it didn't. I think he needs a little bit more work with the pitching staff. I think he needs another year down in AAA before they bring him up. But he's a guy I think who could be converted into the bullpen if he doesn't make it as a starting pitcher. And we really didn't give up too much to get him either. I mean, we literally gave up a 34-year-old, 35-year-old Jimmy Rollins to get him, and he was a pretty nice pitching prospect for the Padres.
Yeah, frankly, I hate to be Debbie Downer, but unless Eflin, the skill of his stuff, so to speak, I don't think he's a major league pitcher. He had, what was it again? He only had 31 strikeouts in 63 innings last year. That's just not going to cut it. He just doesn't have good enough swing and miss stuff.
Yeah.
And
gotta miss bats.
It's not like he has pinpoint control. When he gets hit hard. So yeah, he has a lot of work to do before he could be a big leaguer.
Yeah, he's a contact pitcher. He relies on getting contact and then getting outs. But like you said, he got really hit really hard. Defense couldn't help him out and bail him out last year. So he does have to.
You're right. He's a contact guy.
By the way, that debut we were talking about, June 14th against the Toronto Blue Jays.
Oh, it was the Blue Jays. Okay, well that's different then. So he was against a good offense.
Still though. Okay, so he wasn't tagged for 9 runs, 8 earned, 2 in third innings. So there you go. One of the worst debuts in MLB history.
Whew, poor kid. I mean, that's going into some rough stuff.
All right, Clay.
The Lions down there.
Clay Buchholz, Jeremy Hellickson. So last year they get Jeremy Hellickson. They bring him in. He kind of has a pretty solid season. Clay Buchholz, they're hoping kind of the same thing. He's kind of struggled in Boston a little bit, and they're kind of hoping he turns his career around here in Philadelphia. But at the end of the day, I mean, these guys are pretty much trade chips at the trade deadline.
Yeah, and that's what Hellickson was last year. I think him getting hurt right before the deadline really hurt his chances of being sent somewhere else and getting something in return for him. So we just signed him up for another year, which is fine because he had a pretty decent year. He had that one good year when he was with the Rays. He had a great rookie year, and then he kind of fell off. So maybe it was a change of scenery, but he really revamped his career, I think, a little bit for here. But I didn't like us getting Clay Buchholz. Not a fan of Clay Buchholz. He's not really a power arm. I think he's a guy that's just kind of here to wait till our youngsters come up. But I just don't like Clay Buchholz. He's injury prone. I don't think he's got great stuff. And I don't know if we're going to be able to trade him this year. So that was a kind of a worrisome move for me. And there's another guy I'll talk about on offense that I didn't really like that we picked up too.
I think I know what you're talking about already.
Yeah, it's just like, come on, man. Come on, Clintack. And I've had faith in him, but the Clay Buchholz move, I'm not liking it, guys. So I'm hoping they can bring Ben Lively up to take his spot. We can ship him out, send him back somewhere else.
Yeah, I think I mostly agree with you there. I hate the term innings eaters, but that's just what the
innings eaters is a nice way of saying you suck.
Yeah, basically.
Correct, but basically these guys are hopefully only going to be around for a few more months. Hopefully they trade them well before the deadline. I hope they don't wait that long because basically they're just taking up 2 spots. For a couple of the guys that we had just talked about before that will be coming up once Phillies think they're ready. Best case scenario, these guys have decent years and you're able to get a C-level prospect back for them, and whatever, it's fine. I don't think it's that big a deal. I do have a problem with a couple of the outfielders they signed, though, which I think we might be on the same page about there as well.
We'll get into that
I won't get
in
into
another show.
Yeah.
So, all right, I want to move on to the bullpen now. 5.01 ERA, worse than the majors. 82 homers allowed, worse than the majors. They make some additions. Joaquin Benoit, Pat Neshek. Now, what are your guys' thoughts on the closer situation? Does Genmar Gomez get it back, or does Hector Neris take it? You know, he's nasty. That fastball splitter combination, 11.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. Neris, is he a future closer? Is he the closer of this team?
I think he can be. I definitely think he has the stuff to be able to do it. He was a great setup man for Genmar, but I think you give it back to Genmar until he proves you wrong that he can't close games out for you.
Be the kind of veteran closer and just kind of let Neris, kind of get it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. So I think you give it to Gomez until he proves you wrong that he can't handle it anymore, and then you give it to Neris, because as bad as our bullpen was last year, those two kind of solidified it for what it was for a little bit. We had a great setup man, then we had Genmar was on a roll there when we were winning those games, when everybody was so surprised in the beginning of the year and they were shutting stuff out. All the pitching staff looked good, so I would go along with that. How about you, Tony?
Yeah, I do think you go with Gomez to start, and I'm pretty sure McCannon has said that he's going to go with Gomez.
Yeah, I believe I've heard that.
With that said, I wouldn't be surprised if but I think as early as May, June, you're going to see Neris step in. I think Neris is the guy of the future there. I believe he's like 27. He's absolutely filthy. He's just absolutely filthy. I like Neshek and Benoit.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys.
I like the Benoit signing.
I think they're better than people give them credit for. If you look at those guys' careers, they've been really solid relievers. So they provide stability there. Both of those guys could jump in and close if Gomez and Neris would happen to go down or whatever happens. So I think the bullpen will actually be significantly improved.
Let me look up the stats on Benoit. Benoit seems like a guy that's like, he's going to pitch really well if he's not in a, if it's not like pressure. Like pressure of being a closer. If he's like the 7th, 8th inning guy, he's a lot better.
Ben.
Good.
Been one of those guys who over the years. But he's been one of those guys who has been really good, but has never had a chance to close for an extended period of time. So a lot of people don't know about him. But he's been pretty much lights out in the 7th, 8th inning in the past, I believe.
And he's got to hold his consistency. It could be because he's been lit up before. That's what worries me. He gets a little wild sometimes.
He'll have like years where, like, I'm looking at his stats. Like, he'll have years where he's like 1.35, 3.4 ERA, and then it's like 5 ERA the next year.
Yeah,
so it's you never know which one you're going to get. Now he is 39 now. Is he 38 now?
He's in his late 30s, I think.
Yeah, old. I didn't realize he was that old.
He was the guy that actually blew for the Tigers a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Going for it.
I think another thing about those two guys, just like basically all their signings this offseason, there's a decent chance they're going to be traded. Yeah. If they perform well, they're going to be shipped to a contender. Yeah. And you hope you get something of value in return.
Well, it's so valued now to have a great bullpen. In years past, I don't think you would get, for a closer, what you would get now. I mean, look what we got for Ken Giles and, the Padres got for Craig Kimbrell. I mean, it is so important to have a great bullpen now. These guys, you could get a couple good prospects in return.
Well, the Rays and the Indians are changing the game. The way that they utilize their bullpens, the way that, we saw the Indians and Terry Francona utilize Andrew Miller last year. Bullpens are imperative. You have a great bullpen to win, win baseball.
We touched on that a little in our last show about that, about how relievers just in general are becoming a lot more important. They're not being used as they used to be. I absolutely believe that is the wave of the future, and we're definitely going to see more and more of that. So yeah.
Yeah, the Royals won the World Series. I mean, shit, look at that 7th, 8th, 9th inning. Once you got there, the game was over.
Lights out.
Yeah.
I would also say that if Neris has an unbelievable year, if he takes over the closing job and is just lights out, don't be surprised if he gets traded, because you could get something significant for him. And the Phillies, where they are right now, it's not it's not imperative to have a great bullpen while you're rebuilding. You know
I,
what I mean?
I, I agree with that. If he's already 27 years old, I completely agree with that. It's the Ken Giles theory.
Yeah.
Again,
Right.
what it is.
Exactly the Ken Giles theory.
Yeah. So there you go. All right. Let's see. Anything else that we want to talk about the pitching staff? Got any more comments?
I got pretty much what I wanted to say. I'm really excited to talk about this offense. That's for sure.
Yeah, that'll be the next show in like 5-10 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But it's just gonna be interesting to see what happens with this bullpen. And I don't really like. How do you guys feel about? I'll throw this out there about our pitching coach. Are you a big fan of Bob McClure?
Go ahead, Tony.
I mean, can you name
What do we really know about this pitching coach?
I don't like Bob McClure. I really liked when we had the Dupster in there. I just think that last year, and I'm not too sure. I'm not really too sold on Pete either. So this is going to be a big step this year for, I think, the whole Phillies staff and where they really want to go. Is this a stepping stone? If Pete does have a good year, does he get an extended contract, or do we come in and revamp and clean slate and bring somebody else new in that can really help develop this young core? Because I'm not really too sold on Pete McCann. A lot of it.
I think McClure is your average pitching coach. The majority of pitching coaches out there don't really have effect on these guys.
Mm-hmm.
There's a handful of good ones that do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think McClure has had a negative effect on anybody, but I can't say that for sure. I do kind of like McCannon, although I don't fan of how he handled Alduba Herrera last year, or he benched him a couple times and this and that. Like, I understood both sides. I was on both sides of the fence there, but at the same time, I feel like he was playing head games with him when he didn't need to play head games with him. Other than that, I do think he's done an overall good job. I like he has some old school thought processes to him, but he also understands facts and reality and analytics and that kind of stuff too. So I think he's a decent mix. I wouldn't be surprised if McCannon sticks around a lot longer than people think, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Klentak goes with his own guys next year. So
chop some block and then old in with the new.
Right.
Well, just from reading, I'm just reading some stuff on Bob McClure. Apparently, he is known as a mad scientist who is a very deep thinker, intellectually gifted, no ego or agenda, very humble man who is always open for suggestions. So that's what I just read.
Well, let's see it with these young arms. Let's get this turned around then, Bobby. Let's see.
Let's hope he's a mad scientist in the correct sense and not like Chip Kelly.
Yeah, right. And really blows stuff up.
He does have a cool mustache. You got to give him that.
Oh, it's freaking awesome.
Rocking the mustache.
Yeah.
Cool mustache.
I want it myself. I'm going to be Bob McClure for Halloween.
There you go.
That's what I'm going to do. Or I stick to – actually, I do Ron Burgundy every year for Halloween. Yeah.
You can't go wrong with any of those stashes. Mike Schmidt, any of them.
I bring my anyway, yeah, Ron Burgundy. This is a Philly show. I don't need to get into that. All right. Anyway, we got any final thoughts before we head out and do the next show?
One guy to look out for this year.
Go ahead.
For just kind of.
This is why we do final thoughts.
The ambidextrous pitcher, Pat Venditti. I think you're actually going to see him get an extended look with the Phillies at some point this year. I think he could be more than a novelty act. I think he could actually be somewhat decent reliever.
I thought they cut him. Didn't they cut him?
Oh, I didn't hear that.
I thought they cut him. I thought I read that because I was excited when they got him from Seattle, and then I swore I read that they cut him.
Let me see. Pat Venditte.
Yeah, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I missed that. Wow. He's with.
So he's like a sidewinding
Both. He pitches right and left.
Well, yeah, that's what ambidextrous.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, according to this, he's with the Pigs.
Oh, he is?
Maybe he didn't make the big team, but he's on the Pigs.
Well, I'd love to see him up there because he looked really, really good in spring training. So I'd love to see him back up there.
Yeah, according to this, he's going to start this year as the Pigs.
Okay. I thought I saw that they cut him completely. That's good then. As long as he's still, with the organization, that's fine.
So he's 31 years old.
I can get behind that, man, because you could really utilize his talents. Definitely. Instead of doing the switching with the lefty and the righty, you just leave him out there. He could just switch sides every time.
Vendit is much more efficient in pitching left-handed against left-handed batters, but throws harder as a right-hander. His fastball sits in just the mid-80s, but is maximized by a funky sidearm delivery. So that's just like a little scouting report.
Oh, see, I heard that his fastball gets to like 90, 92 from both sides. What that said, mid-80s.
That's what this Philly.com story on March 16th by Matt Breen.
Well, if he's only getting to the mid-80s, then yeah, he is just a novelty act. But
Well, the guy's name is Matt Breen, so I trust you, Tony. I don't know who this fucker is.
All right. Well, I still wait, Matt Breen? No, he's a legit guy.
Is he? I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Spring training gun. Maybe his arm wasn't stretched out yet.
Yeah.
It would still be fun to see him this year.
Yeah. All right. That's about it, right? We don't got anything else. We're gonna do our offense show right now, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we'll end this show. This is our pitching preview for the 2017 Phillies in about a minute or two. I'm gonna set up another show, another high hopes with a question mark. 2017 Phillies preview. We're gonna look at the offense. So we're gonna look at Dubal Herrera, Michael Franco. We're gonna look at all the guys that they signed and you guys don't like.
Woo!
We'll get into that. All right. So for Adrian, thank you, Tony Del Grosso, Kyle Gaffer. I am Adrian. Thank you. Be back soon.